Welcome to this Get Vocal. I have two great guests joining me. We're going to talk about the C.O.D. or the cause of death when it comes to traditional advertising. Now, I come from a background of radio and television. I've been on the management side, been on the performance side. I've built ad agencies, I have television and radio. But now we're starting to see a shift now because the way that people are consuming and checking out their entertainment. I have two great guests. I have Paloma Renee and also have G join. Great to have you guys with me. So, Paloma, I want to go to you first. As someone who is a very successful influencer out there, you're actually getting ad dollars from our television and radio side because influencers now are a viable option when it comes for advertising to reach the masses out there. Now, how does that make you feel after influencers now have tugged on Superman's cape, are now getting some of that money? How does that make you feel?
Sorry, there's a man jump roping right outside my window, so it's distracting. But no, it's such an interesting concept to me because, we see, for example, celebrities, and for example, like I work in film as well in production. So it's like, I see both sides. And I mean, I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I think it's so cool that people can build YouTube channels and not have to go through this whole process. I mean, I see actors going through the process and whatnot of having to be accepted and all this stuff and they work really hard, but it's neat that we can have these normal people just showing their normal day lives and they're able to make a living off of it. I think that it's great. I think that it also normalizes us just being humans. Influencers have so many ways and things that they talk about. They talk about real life stuff, growing up. They talk about mental illness. They talk about just daily life. And for younger people to see that, for people to relate to them, it brings a whole different world instead of just a celebrity life where we see these people, but they're so far away from us, and they're not even, we don't see them as real people. We see them kind of as like these idols and whatnot. And so it's really neat to go on YouTube and for people to be making content that is just so real to us, and we can feel less lonely and we feel, we relate to it. And so for people to actually be able, like my whole point is that I think it's great that they're able to take the time to make great content, because that's the thing, if they, people obviously have to survive, we have to make money. So it's kind of like they can't just make that time out of nowhere. And I think that some people may not realize that even just filming, for example, a Q&A video, it's like that can still take hours to do. It can take, an hour or so to film. It can take 2 to 3 hours to edit. And that's just if you're used to it. So if you're just learning the material, that is a whole nother story. You have to learn how to edit and whatnot. And not just for that kind of video, that can take a day. So the videos that are a lot more active and whatnot, vlogs, those can take a week to film and edit. So I think that people don't realize that. And so it's kind of like the ad sense that we do get helps us in order to create the content to make time for it, so that we don't have to spend, say people don't have to spend like 40 hours a week doing their job. They do half and half or something. And some people are lucky enough to just do full time on YouTube. So I think that it's excellent that we have ways to support people making content that we can really relate to and we can feel less alone in. So I really like it.
I love that. And Gisela, going to you, being in the marketing side of things for many years, we come to you as TV and radio stations to try to get ad dollars as a marketer. And nowadays we see that marketing, digital marketing and online marketing has really changed the game when it comes to that standpoint too. So please, if you don't mind sharing your experience of what you see as the C.O.D. of traditional advertising.
So so I started kind of on the creative side of things back in the New York agency world years ago, and eventually kind of migrated over to the internet when I could sort of see that, I could actually measure what my creative could do. And, I was really attracted to the analytics and the quantification of my efforts. With internet marketing, I think that what I love about it is that it is very quantifiable, that I can, track and set things up and set up journeys for users and buyers and personas, and really understand what's happening with people and understand which traffic sources are converting and which ones are driving more engaged users versus less engaged users and yada, yada. So I think it's really interesting. I think for me, you know, like using old media, I don't have that kind of visibility. So it was never that interesting to me. It's like, yeah, okay, I can make a really beautiful commercial, but I don't know if it's effective. I mean, I don't know if those users would have maybe arrived on my website, regardless of whether I'd done that or not. So for me, that's what I love about it. I think what's really interesting about influencer marketing is that I think there's kind of like this groundswell around it. Like, it just seems like everybody and their brother has, like we were joking today about how everybody and their mother has a podcast. And, and that's probably a bit true, but I think that it's kind of isolating the people who maybe, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell or somebody who said something about like the 100,000 hours to become a true expert. I think with podcasting or with any kind of influencer marketing or any kind, like if you're building your brand on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, you have to put your time in. You have to kind of develop your brand. You have to invest yourself. And I think a lot of people think they can just, quickly get on there and do a few tweets, create a few videos, and they get a brand and they can get all those advertising dollars. But I think you have to have a story. You have to be compelling. So behind just the general artistry and technical know-how, you have to actually have something that people can relate to, whether it's a point of view, an aesthetic, a sense of humor, I don't know, something. So I just think it's a much more, for me, it's a little more challenging because I have to kind of read through things to find those people and find the right people to bring and then engage with them. So it's almost a little old school in that way. It takes a lot of upfront work, but then the investment, when you find the right people, it really does pay off. So,
and you two bring up some very good points. See, I'm kind of new to the influencer game because being in terrestrial radio and television, when I went to broadcasting school, that's when MySpace first came out. So MySpace was kind of like the new thing when it comes to social media. And we had no idea in school how important it was for us, not only as journalists now, but also to create a brand, become marketers, and do things of that nature. And so when I started to get into becoming an influencer, online influencer, it's like I had to retrain myself. When it comes to like traditional journalism, traditional broadcasting, like you have a script, you have an audience, that's that. What I had to try to do was bring my audience on the terrestrial side onto the streaming side to say, hey, come follow me here, come watch me here, you can check this out. And then in addition to that, now to try to bring in ad dollars from that I used to do on the traditional side. So I really had to change my mindset. And Paloma and Giselle, what you guys are talking about makes so much sense, and it's really changed the game, and a lot of journalism schools, a lot of marketing classes, now social media marketing, influence marketing are now courses that people can take in universities and colleges. Who would have thought 12 or 13 years ago that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube would be something that would be in a curriculum?
Well, Andy Warhol predicted it, right? Everyone was going to have 15 minutes. And the guy just shows what a visionary was. He predicted it before he even really knew about the internet. But yeah, that's where we are right now. And I think it's actually shortened to maybe 5 minutes. Everyone gets their 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you get it on the go as you're, walking your dog. You can check it out. But anyway.
No, that's well said. And Paloma, what has been like your, when you first had that first company or organization come to you and say, hey, Paloma, as an influencer, I want you to market my product, your audience. What did you have to do in your mind to guide yourself and to say, okay, let me do it this way because I want to be successful with it? Take us through that process.
That's a great question. It's definitely been a learning curve because for me, it's good to it's good to know that I guess I am like a morally sound person, that when I take an advertising job, when I'm promoting a product, I actually really want to create sales for them. Like, it would make me feel bad if I don't, I want to make sure that I am at least, it's an interesting thing because I've talked to people about it and they're like, oh, well, an advertisement like on a billboard doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. So it's kind of like, well, you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself, but at the same time, yeah, I can't guarantee that someone's going to want to buy the product, but I feel that I can do my best to promote it in the best way possible and what I believe that my viewers will really relate to. So I feel that it was an interesting thing because I was a little bit scared when I did my first ones, because a lot of times, this was about, I guess it was only like a year ago, but I know around that time, a lot more brands were starting to do sponsorships with YouTubers, and a lot of people would call YouTubers sellouts and be like, oh, wow, you know, they do like an advertising one or just like a 2-minute section on a product in their video. And people on the comments would be really harsh about it and be like, wow, you're sellouts, you're this, you're that. Not towards me because I haven't done it yet, but towards other people. And so I just thought, oh my gosh, am I going to have the same reaction? So I tried to be very creative in what I came up with. The first one was actually for the dating site Match.com. And so I did this whole kind of like vlog thing about how me and my girlfriend met online and stuff like that. And so instead of just me being on the camera like, oh, Match is great, I did like this kind of whole little, like, not film, but, you know, something like that about it, just because I really wanted people to we kind of not reenacted, but we went to the same places and tried to take my audience kind of to see and be involved in kind of how we met and stuff like that. And so I tried to do it in a creative way, and I got a really positive response. And then I do a lot of them, which is great now. And they have been pretty successful promoting products. And I'm just, you know, you never know, but I guess my thing is that I try to make it as natural as possible. And I also only do products that I actually believe in.
I was going to ask you that. I was wondering, do you ever does anyone ever approach you and you just like,
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. It's like, if I don't believe that I'm going to be able to sell it, my conscience will not be okay. You know, if I'm just like, oh, I just want the money and I don't think I'll sell anything, but I'll just take it. I also don't want to promote something to my audience. I don't want to, you know, hurt the company that's paying for it. And I also don't want to bother my audience with something that they'll be like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of pushing it, Paloma, you're doing a product that you know we won't like. And so I'm definitely very careful with that. I've had really random people ask me, and I'm just, you know, I do politely decline it. And I just say, you know, I don't think that's my demographic, just to be, you know, very real with them. And so that's been an interesting thing, but it's been really nice because throughout my time, I've never gotten bad comments about any of my sponsorships. And I think that is because I try to do it in a very natural way. And I also, since I do funny content, I feel like I usually add it in like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And so I add just like this ease to it where it's less of a, oh, you know, here we go. Like, you know, like one of those really formal commercials. It's much more like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I just say that I do really like it. And it is stuff that I actually really enjoy. Like recently I did this one about this juice, and it's actually delicious. It's so good. I try it out before I promote it.
That one. That was cool. I saw that one.
Oh, awesome. And so it was so cool because I actually got people messaging me that they got it. So I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And it was actually, you know, it's kind of a pricey drink. Like you get, it's like, because it's one of those like protein drinks. And so you get like a big pack. That's how they sell it. And so people, I was worried. I was like, oh, well, it's great in terms of what it's offering you, because you get like a 90-day supply and stuff. I was like, oh, well, people want to buy that. But people did, and they were like, it's delicious. Like, thank you for recommending it. And I'm just like, that's awesome, you know? So you never exactly know exactly what your demographic will like. But I think that when you create a good relationship with them, they see your products that you're promoting as honest. And so I feel like that's really what I've tried to do. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No. That was cool. You know what, Giselle, 1 second. We have ones in our room. And if you don't want to come on camera, what you can do is you can go over to the messages right there, put in some messages to the side, let us know what you're thinking. We can address those comments and things like that. And after this broadcast is over, you can always jump in and continue the conversation. Giselle, back to you, my dear.
Oh, I was actually just going to ask Paloma. I'm really curious. So you've only been doing this for about a year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And is this your day job, or do you still have a day job?
No, well, it's kind of a mix. I still do have a day job, but it's something, so I work in writing and then production. Okay. So those are two skills
so it's all
I
related. Okay.
Yeah, so it's all related. But YouTube, it's just because the problem with YouTube and sponsorships is that you can never guarantee anything. So I feel like that's kind of live on the edge, like a lot of us, because we don't know. So it's hard because you can't really guarantee that month you'll have enough to pay for rent and stuff.
Right.
And so you definitely,
and then,
yes.
And just as like a buyer, if you will, not that, but I'm just saying, like, as somebody who's out there looking for, how do they find you? Do they just find you on YouTube, or do you use platforms to kind of be found, if you will? Like I'm working with this one called Group High right now, but I'm not really terribly thrilled with it. I'm just curious. So, but I'm just wondering how it all works, because I'm still trying to figure out the whole influencer, as somebody who buys media and engages and is like on the other side trying to get my brand out there, which, I'm not going to, but anyway, trying to get my brand out there, and like, how do I get people to talk about it? How do I find the right people? It seems like it's a very hard, it's a challenge for me. So I'm just always curious to know from influencers, well, who do you work with? Like, how does it typically work for you?
We got Caitlin in the room. What's up, Caitlin? How are you?
Hi, Caitlin.
Welcome to the room. Go ahead, Paloma, go ahead and answer that for us.
Yeah. You have to if you don't want to. If you want to keep your trade secrets, that's cool too.
Oh, no. Oh,
text me, Paloma. Let me know. I want to know the secrets. I want to know all the secrets.
No, not at all. Well, it's interesting. There's two ways. So there's one way in which they contact you. That happens. That's definitely not, well, I'll say, so my main source is through other platforms. There's this one called FameBit, which is actually owned by Google.
I've actually used that before. My last startup, I used that one a lot. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, so that one, so I've done that one. I will say that it's interesting though, because on those sites, they offer you a lot less than through emails. Through emails, they actually, I feel like there's a bit more, well, it depends kind of, they're usually the bigger companies that email you. So I feel like they have more funds to offer. And so email ones are always exciting because you're like, okay, like, because sometimes you can feel a little bit like ripped off if a company just wants to send you like a $20 product and is like, can you do a full review on that? It's like, well, like, I don't think my audience would appreciate that, for that, so it's interesting, but definitely like FameBit. And then, but through emails is great. I feel like, a lot of YouTubers, some YouTubers don't even use those sites. They just do through email. So I think, definitely, at least for us, contacting us through